be recorded as we've been talking, right? And I decided to start a consultant business. I think that there's a huge void in our space of conversations. We need more conversations to fill that void. Uh, there's great things that are happening in pockets, right? There are amazing companies out there doing great work or amazing portfolios, right? A regional maintenance director does great work. It's just not getting to be known at a national level because it stays there. So I created a podcast to invite leaders like you on a podcast to discuss about what's going on the market, what are some great initiatives that you have, trends, things of that nature. We're creating a platform. I'm working very hard to create a platform, a space where we could exchange valuable ideas and make the industry better. I don't think that if we're not getting involved, somebody else will, like for us to, wait around for somebody else to take initiative. So it's really up to us to what we make it. And I'm glad to have you all here today, especially like I said, that most of you haven't been like, except Jed and I on with us on a previous meeting. So that's a little bit about me, about what I'm trying to accomplish with, building this platform here. Next, Jake, you want to go next, sir? Introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. My name's Jake Trait. I've been in the industry now for about 17, going on 18 years now. Started out as groundskeeper with equity back in the day, and just kind of worked my way up. I've been on the career development committee with WMPA, and just kind of have a passion for teaching and training, and really kind of just want to share and what knowledge I have. And then I've kind of learned just by sharing and stuff, you actually really solidify that knowledge you have in your head. So it's just a great way to teach yourself. So yeah, and now I'm with Thrive currently and working on a 750 unit community. It's kind of my background. We're in a temp leasing office now. We have a brand new construction down here in Seattle. So
Excellent.
Oh, welcome to the group. Scott, you're up next, sir.
Well, thank you, Adrian. I have been following Adrian for a while now. I have been in the business probably the longest of anybody on here, and I'll venture to say will be by the end of the call. I've been on property management and facility side for 38 years. I started out in 1987. I was working for the government. The minister across the street from my house started Habitat for Humanity up here in New England, and then launched his own management company because he knew some folks that were looking for good property management leadership. And it was the Cornu Maycumber Company. I started there in 1987, writing one of the first work order programs in the country. Little did I know that program then would have made me a multi-millionaire today. But because Harvard University owned the property and they were paying me handsomely to write this program, I was a computer operator in the Air Force. It became the impetus for what is now my 38-year career. It was a 6-month assignment that went to 12, and I loved property management. I loved working with the facilities teams. I have a construction license. I'm a licensed builder. Been doing this for a long time. In 2019, I decided, like Adrian, to leave the corporate sector and go out on my own. So we'll be celebrating 5 years this September that we've been in business, and we've been consistently growing each time. I'm a national speaker and trainer. I've written my own curriculum for over 50 courses that I teach out in the field, and we're constantly adding to that. So I welcome the opportunity to work and hear from you folks. And again, Adrian, thanks for putting this group together, because you're right. There is a void in our industry. And as my dad used to say, no one of us is as smart as all of us.
Scott, thank you for being here. Amazing background and amazing story, right? And journey. So very inspirational. Thank you. Peter, you're up next, sir.
I'll also say thank you for the invite to this group. I'm probably the newest in this industry, maybe. I'll be coming up on 7 years in October. I've worked with Center Space mostly, except for a brief transition to another company when I was with a property that was purchased, and then now I came back to Center Space. As of January, I am now the Director of Maintenance and Purchasing for Center Space. And I'm eager to learn what everybody else's knowledge has already experienced and how I can hopefully bring that to our company as well.
Well, congratulations on your recent promotion, and I'd love to make this a topic of a conversation: purchasing and procurement. I mean, kind of the same thing, right? But procurement, I like to discuss at some point, because I've seen with all the companies that I've been with, I've seen like so much money being left on the table through the policies that are not, the most efficient when it comes to like how do we spend money, and especially when you're talking about institutional companies like 10, 15, 20, 50,000 apartment homes. The numbers could add up to huge numbers, like to hundreds of thousands of dollars in savings or in money that you hand them to particular vendors because you're not having that system optimized. So next we'll go to Jed.
Hey, everybody. I'm Jed McDaniel. I'm the Director of Maintenance and Safety for Allied Residential. This is my 25th year in the industry. Like a lot of us, I started as well. I applied for a groundskeeper position outside of high school, thinking I could get a rent discount to move out. So that's how I started, and 25 years later, here I am. But I'm approved with OSHA as a general industry and safety trainer, 07B electrician, certified pool operator. I love our industry. I appreciate everything that Adrian is doing. Always looking for the new thing in our industry. If we're standing still, we're falling behind. So I like everything that we're doing here to bring us all together. So thank you again, Adrian.
Thank you for the intro and for the kind words, Jeff. Ron, you're up next, sir.
Ron Cox, been in the industry for 26 years. Time flies. Currently the vice president for Grove Properties here in North Carolina. Instructor for PHTA, CPO, and just interested in being here and seeing what everybody else is doing, and just trying to get better at what I'm doing.
Well, thank you for being here with us today. Craig, you're up next, sir. Welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. Craig Bartholomew, currently Director of Training and Inspections for Net Vendor Maintenance on the vendor side. Many years on site and in the roles that many of you are in, but happy to be here and stay engaged in what we're doing.
Well, we're glad you're here, sir. You're able to make it. I do wanted to say that typically the way we started, I created an agenda initially, right? And we try to go down the list of topics. And of course, we only touch like 2-3 topics each meeting because I want to give everybody the opportunity to speak. It's not, a point to make it my meeting and me speaking at everybody else talking at. I want to get, the best ideas from everybody around the virtual table. So we've been making some progress, but we don't want to rush and like check some boxes and say, we talked about like 7 items. Like if we just touch on a single topic and we get the best out of that topic in an hour, so be it, right? We'll leave the rest for the next meeting. So typically this is how we've been running. Just letting you all know, since Craig was on one or a couple of meetings and Jed, but everybody else is new. It's your first time. So one of the topics that we started talking about last week was developing a nationally recognized certification for service managers. As you probably all know here on this call, we have a KMT, which is Certified Apartment Maintenance Technician, but we don't have a national recognized certification by NAA for service managers. We have one for community managers. They actually have more than one. They have CAM. They also have ARM through IRM, if you're an IRM member. So there's more than one opportunity for them to get a certification and also get educated, not just the certification. But when it comes to our managers, our service managers, that's not there, right? So I think it's important for us to start, and I guess time will tell how we're going to start. Maybe we start a program locally, or maybe a company does this like they build their own program and then eventually or hopefully gets recognized at the national level or at the local level, and then goes national. But I think we shouldn't be waiting for NAA to like create that. We should start with initiatives and voice our opinions our own. I like to really get your thoughts on this subject, and I'm gonna start with you, Scott.
Certainly. Thank you, Adrian. I agree wholeheartedly with you. You know, I realized, you know, over my years that it isn't often that the folks in the facilities and maintenance departments, you know, have the opportunity to learn and to progress through the ranks the way the folks in management did. I've been doing it for years. I'm a certified property manager. I'm a master facility executive from BOMA. I had a lot of good opportunities and good leaders along the way who knew that if they invested in me, I was foolish enough to go and make positive changes and lots of money for them. But I know that not everybody has that opportunity. I was actually one of the subject matter experts that helped on the rewrite of the KMT program with Paul Rhodes and others back in 2017. And we were trying to make it more robust, more relatable, updated. And I think what you're recommending on the National Service Manager certification is spot on. And maybe this group becomes the pilot work group that starts to put together the skeleton of the designation. We run it by Clark and folks at NAA and say, we're working on this. Will you support it when the time comes?
Excellent. I know that
Can
you.
Can I interject, Adrian?
Absolutely, absolutely. Please.
So, because I actually have a hard stop here in just a couple of minutes. But let me give you all a couple pieces of information. One thing, an important differentiation, the CAMT program, the Certificate for Apartment Maintenance Technician, is the only ANSI approved certificate program offered by the National Apartment Association. So, important distinction that CAM, which is the Certified Apartment Manager, and CAMT, which is the Certificate for Apartment Maintenance Technician, those are two different programs. And so it makes the CAMT program actually more robust than the CAM program. Just background information. Also, while this group, and I wouldn't discourage any conversation that happens here, NAA is working on exactly what you're talking about. It is happening in the background. It's a big ship, and it's going to be a pretty hard ship to turn and move. But it's the discussions are actually happening to try and figure out how to separate the difference between supervisors and technicians in where that program ultimately ends up, say, in the next probably 3 years.
That's fantastic feedback and great news, Craig. What would it take for someone to become a part of those conversations? How could any of us become a part of those conversations?
Reach out to Amy Allen at the NAAHQ, or NAAEI, and talk to her about being part of the CAMT Advisory Committee. It's a group of property people, vendor people, affiliate people that are working through the processes.
Anything else that you'd like to share with us? I know that you're involved with NAA and with the education piece out there. Anything else that you'd like to share with us that we should know about what's going on?
No, I mean, I think it's important to know that they've heard what's been said, and I think that there's a group within that are actually really taking steps to try and make a difference happen there. I think that conversations like this, and then that input back to that group, are going to ultimately be the piece that helps to steer that and develop it and help it to become what it will be.
That's fantastic. That's very encouraging, and for jumping right in. And I know you're short on time. You had to leave earlier, so thank you for doing that. Ron, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'll just echo what Scott said. I was lucky enough to start with a company, and it's funny, Craig is on this call. Craig actually hired me as an in-house painter a long time ago.
Don't tell you how long ago, man. I'm only 28.
Right. Yeah. But no, I was lucky enough to be able to work for a company and work for Craig and supervisors along the way that could give me firsthand training that would take me with them and show me things and help me to grow. And as Scott said, and not to repeat everything he said, a lot of people don't have that. And when you hire people, you see that. When you, as a supervisor, I would see what somebody was doing. Where did you learn that from? You're going to get hurt. That's dangerous. Well, that's the way I was shown. And it's like, oh man, then you realize not everybody had the same treatment that I had working for that company. And very blessed to have started with Equity Residential because they Craig and Kenny and a couple of other guys, were able to take that time and show. But we certainly need it. I'm all for it, and anything that I can do, I always feel like paying it back. Right? I had great people showing me, and I've been trying to do that over the last 26 years, is 24 years, paying it back to somebody else because that's what was done for me. So that's what I got.
I say, Ron, it's so remarkable. Like this goes to show in such a huge country, such a huge industry, how small the world is. That two people like hop on a call, on a random call, and he hired me like so many years ago. That's actually quite amazing, and you will be surprised how often that happens. I'm fortunate to travel, quite a bit throughout the country, east, west coast, and I run into people for the first time. And when we're talking about like, people that we know, you'll be amazed like how many people we have in common. And I didn't even think that, someone from Arizona or Vegas or like from California will have anything in common with me, like people that we work with in common. But there's so much movement and upward mobility in the industry that it's quite remarkable to me. It's actually insane that you were such a close, like tight knit community. Now I do want to have to say that on a facility side, I'm not seeing that type of like dynamics in a way that like it's not being communicated. Like we're building this community right now in 2024, so hopefully this will become something bigger so we could influence others and like build these relationships, so everywhere we are, anywhere we are, all over the country, we're able to exchange valuable information, not in this format but even outside of this. I'm sharing the participants list, like the group members list, with everybody. So if you find someone that you think you could learn from or you could ask a question, I'm sure that they're all open. The unfortunate part is that everybody's extremely busy and not everybody is able to make time for these meetings. And sometimes they make it, sometimes they don't. But we all know it's life, right? I made a point. I try to do this every 3 weeks. So just so you know, it's gonna be a recurring meeting from now on. Every 3 weeks, we're going to try to have a meeting. And obviously, not everybody's gonna be able to make it. But for those that are, it's important that we keep this conversation going because this is the only way we're gonna grow this platform. Peter, you're next, sir. What are your thoughts on the subject?
I think it's great that we're trying to do a national certification, like the CAMT already, but then for supervisors, I know in Minnesota they have their own. It's a CRMT, Certified Residential Maintenance Technician, which is a course that they're developing through the Minnesota Multi-Housing Association. So to get a national level of certification, I think would bring a lot more credibility in general.
Jake, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, a couple thoughts. So definitely one thing to tie in with this too is the way to push this a bit sooner in somebody's career also. Because I know when I got my CAMT certification, I was already 10 years in. And at that point, like, I'm glad I went and did it because it's like a credential I can then show. But I was like, this would have been something definitely like if I would have done within my first 3 years, it would have been way more impactful on my career on just the knowledge, right? So I think figuring out how we can just make sure that's pushed and available for people on that level, like especially with this credential for new supervisors going into it, because I see a lot of like being on site still right now. a lot of the differences between like a tech and what a supervisor would be is that ability to distinguish liabilities and everything, right? It kind of seems like as we kind of go up their rank, we're more looking for ways to like prevent accidents and just, mitigation of incidents and stuff like that. And I've seen a lot of the people who are really proficient in our industry are able to complete work and keep people safe and limit liability to the company all in one aspect, right? You can think of all of that stuff. So, like, I think for a lot of the guys, they would do really well with that aspect of thinking, especially going into the supervisor training part of it, is just learning how to do proficient work while keeping people safe, not doing the stupid things like climbing into a compactor to get something out because it was jammed, or, it's just the little things that have happened luckily, I feel like that's pretty old age now, but it was stuff that we did. And growing up in construction, there was stuff too that you just did it because if you didn't do it, the next guy would, and you were afraid of losing your job. So a lot of that stuff is just kind of changing that attitude, and I've seen good strides in that in the last 15 years. But I think it's just a root point that would be nice to build from.
Yeah, and definitely, as a matter of personal opinion, I don't see a lot of overlap between a technician job and a service manager job. I sincerely don't. To me, like, there's no more than 20 or 30% overlap. Of course, as a service manager, you have to have some technical knowledge. You have to have an idea about how to fix certain things, but that's not like the most important thing. The most important to me is how you manage a 50, 60, $80 million asset. Because basically that's what you should be doing, right? If you're not doing that, if you're not part of managing that size asset, you're just a glorified, I guess, lead technician, right? If the manager does that, for you.
Right. And that's that was kind of interesting, especially with my last position at West Edge, which was a 40-story tower. That was, it was kind of funny because we talked about my role being less of a service supervisor and something called like, more of a facilities director, where it was like I wasn't necessarily doing turns and stuff like that. I had an assistant supervisor who was my right-hand man who, took care of the scheduling and stuff like that. But it was like the contracts, to keep the company safe. And it was the management of the budget and, meetings with the manager every day. It was actually like a manager's role compared to the physical, like out and doing that. And it's what I foresee happening here at my new position, especially at 750 units. It's definitely going to be managing a lot more of the day-to-day functions and stuff and just making sure everybody has what they need to be successful. Because like somebody said it earlier, and it's like it's not one person anymore. And we had a think tank, and it's all about it's standing on the back of giants, because people have already done big things now. And it's like we're a group of people standing on the back of giants now. We now have to take multiple of us to do things, because like the buildings coming up now are insane. Like they're way beyond what we could ever have imagined. So it's getting together and knowing that we're a team, and that's, part of what I really liked about this group was seeing that develop.
Yeah, I couldn't say it better. This is like, an epic statement, really. And we could harvest that. Like it's within our power. We don't have to wait for anyone to tell us. It's within us. Just show up every 3 weeks for an hour, have a great conversation, take the best of it with you, back with you, make things better. Welcome to the group, Josh. Welcome back, I should say. We went over the introduction, so I want to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself to the group. I think that most folks here on this call haven't been on a previous call. So
my name is Josh Hayes. I'm a regional maintenance director for Widener, and I oversee all of our properties in Oklahoma and Arkansas. So it's about 26 properties, 9,200 units. So
we're just bringing you up to speed. We've been talking about the need for a service manager certification at a national level, comparable with CAM and ARM that IRM has. So that's kind of the topic. I have Jed waiting in right now, and then we'll go back to you, Josh, to hear your thoughts on the topic.
Going to me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, sorry. No, and that was well said, Jake. I can't agree more. I feel like this industry, I always say, is a tornado. We all go round and round, but nobody gets out. So all the more reason why we need that national certification, I feel like. I know when I was on site, there wasn't a path with the company that I was at back then to have any type of education. I had to go and find it on my own. I think this comes down to also the mentality of the property management company that you're working for, to see past that we're not just a body to sit there and get that work order done. There has to be that path nowadays. There has to be the ability to show that this is not a job. This is a career for you to go to. And whether, again, what I say is whether you want the merry-go-round or the roller coaster, whether you want to be on that same property for 20 years, there's still something new to learn all the time and advance. Or whether you're that person that wants to try every different role until you find what fits you perfect. No matter what, there still has to be that path. And I think this national certification is a great place to start. And as Jake and I think Ron mentioned too, starting at the beginning is the best time. Show them that path to say, hey, this is what you mean to us as a company. This is what you bring. And this is the path that we have for you. Depending on where you want to go, we can get you there. That's what I think is lacking. It used to be, back in the day, it was hard to find office people that knew computers and things like that, and maintenance was dime a dozen. Now that teeter-totter has absolutely switched to where it's easy to find office people now and know computers and things, but skilled maintenance techs are hard to find. And I think getting that mentality with property management company, getting these certifications like this is the first step in getting that ball rolling to bring back all of those skilled maintenance people that we need in our industry. So I really think we're on the right path here.
Josh, what are your thoughts on a topic, sir?
Most definitely, I agree. I've been actually kind of thinking about trying to develop something like that for Widener for myself. We currently have a service tech and training program along with the manager and training program. And I spent, a good better part of 3 years training my replacement for when I got promoted and stuff. So I saw the need to have something like that, or try and build a program or something like that to go over the financials, because in my current role, it was kind of crazy to talk to service managers that have been in the business for 10, 15 years and has never once seen a budget or even sat in on how to create a budget. For Widener and for me, that was kind of expectations for all of my service managers here in Oklahoma City. And like I said, it was astounding to see the number of technicians or number of service managers that don't have that experience or know how to budget and stuff. So I definitely feel we need something in place, whether it's at a national level or whatever, like CAMT, for the guys. And it shows our investment for them, because that's what some of our guys need, is just to know that a company is willing to invest in their future to better their careers. Because like you guys said, this is no longer just a job for a lot of people. It's a career. And if they want to go into that service manager position, they're probably committed to the industry, and they're probably going to be in the industry for the next 10, 15 years. Learn things like people skills, soft skills like that is definitely going to be a need, especially with the newer generation coming in and stuff. That was one thing that my replacement, it was hard for him to cope with, is how to manage a staff. And for him, he made a huge jump. I think he was probably the only person that I've ever seen go from a service tech position to a service manager and be over 1,100 units and have 16 team members underneath him. So it was a little bit of a stretch for him, but at the end, within a few months, he had to take a step back, and his response was, you taught me everything that I needed. He goes, but it was the soft skills, the people skills, and how to deal with them is what the struggle was. So that's something now that I'm trying to incorporate in training with my team members, is how to deal with those different personalities and the different traits on site and stuff. So, but it would be awesome to see something at that national level to get our guys certified and committed to them.
Yeah, I'd love to hear from you as you're trying to develop this internally, because it's extremely important. Like I was saying at the beginning before you got on, it doesn't have to be like a certain way, right? It has to start from the top, right? And is great if it does, but then you could also start at a company level. And if you build a robust program and you just presented it to the entire industry, I don't think that people will turn their backs and say, well, this comes from Widener. And it's not good because, right? I think everybody's gonna see value. So I'll be very interested in hearing from you as you developing, as you add more pieces to this puzzle.
I think the other thing we need to try and work on too is just changing the mindset of what is expected of our service managers, maintenance supervisors, because especially when I came to Oklahoma, I didn't grow up here. I didn't, I learned in a different city and stuff. So for me, they called them lead service techs, and those were the kind of the leaders of the property, but they didn't know anything. They didn't know how to pull a budget. They weren't doing work orders. They weren't assigning work orders. So I think a lot of it needs to stem from just the stigmatism too of what do we expect from our maintenance supervisors and our service managers. They're not just the most skilled person on the team to go change out an air conditioner. To me, I've always been maintenance over maintenance, and that's what I did when I came to my property was everything that was maintenance related ran through me, all the scheduling, all the work orders. And I think that's something that we need to change as a culture for us and start having those service managers step up and take control and take charge of the maintenance department and stuff. That's what I did. And when I had a new manager, she wanted to control it. She wanted to do the scheduling. She wanted to be involved in all of that. And I was like, hold on a second. I go, I've been here for 18 months. Just let me kind of do my thing. And she was ecstatic about it because it's less off of her plate. And I think that's what a lot of CDs, community managers need to realize, that if we can give that power to the service manager, it's going to be so much less stress off of their plate, and they're going to be able to focus on the other little things on the property, and the property is going to flourish.
You're making a great point there. I work with managers like that too, that they were so used to manage the maintenance side of things, but that didn't come from a like controlling point. It was just because they used to work with service managers that wouldn't do it, wouldn't be capable of doing it. Therefore, they had to step. They felt like they had to step in because overall, they're still responsible for the operations of the property, maintenance included. They didn't have a service manager that was qualified. They felt compelled to step in and manage, manage turnkey process. Like, I can't tell you how many managers I've seen that are actually managing turnkey because their service managers don't know how to. They're not today, they're not capable, not to say they're incompetent. They don't have that skill, right? We got to find out why is the skill not there, teach it, train it, and give them an opportunity to actually become a manager. To me, the skin in a game thing is such a very empowering thing, right? When you get skin in a game, like if you're just like being told what to do all day, you're not gonna have the same type of like drive versus being empowered to say, this is yours and it's what you make it, right? Of course, it comes with a lot of responsibility, but if you're a responsible person and you have the drive, you're gonna make that thing shine because it represents you. You take pride in what you do, but you just need that chance. So the next thing that I like to cover, gentlemen, is how would you envision this curriculum to look like? How, if we were here deciding on this program and say, between the 7 of us, we're deciding this certified service manager program, right? What would it look like in your vision? And I go back to you, Scott, and I'll let you go first. I think you're muted.
You think after COVID, I'd realize that. I agree with everybody and what the assessments are on the call. I found out very early in my career that when I was matriculating, through the organizations to get my designations, that very quickly I learned as a property manager that my best friend and partner was the maintenance supervisor. They make or break the organization. They have the ability to make positive catalytic changes, at the property level and the company level, that yield the results that we're all trying to achieve. So I have always been a strong proponent of educating the maintenance team, because let's face it, guys, we are the backbone that, has been running, 30, 40, 50, $100 million properties. And yet they didn't see the investment. And when I talk to owners and companies, I tell them training is not a cost. It's an investment in the future. And, if they're not making that investment, then shame on them, because somebody else will pick up the people that you're not investing in. Because the greatest asset that our companies have are its team members. And the best cohesive team in the facilities side is a well-educated team. Right out of the gate, 5 years in, when I was a property manager, I sat my maintenance super down, who had been a maintenance super for 20 years for a company. And I brought him into the budget meeting. And he said, "What am I doing here?" I said, "We're going to pick your brain to figure out exactly what we need, because I don't know. I've just been assigned this property. The assistant manager's been here for 2 years. She doesn't know the property like you do. You've been here 12 years. We want to hear from the brains of the operation, because that's you." And just that statement, I watched him literally start to float, because now someone is appreciating the caliber of the intelligence he brings to the table. And it's been an exponential experience for me, because I've done this, across the board. Every time I tell people this, my goal is to train everybody to know as much as I do, because when the opportunities come, you want people to be able to be promoted, to be more of an asset, to really strive for greatness. So I think building out the program, I think we have to start at the foundational level, assuming that the service managers are service techs that matriculated up. It's not last man standing. And what do we need to build? I think soft skills are huge. Budget skills are immensely huge. Let's face it, the bulk of any of the budgets we've ever looked at, gentlemen, are based on MRO. And that's what it comes down to, maintenance, repair, and operations, and then utilities, and then capital projects. We typically have responsibility for 50, 60, 70% of the line items in a property budget, yet I too was trained. You're the property manager, you're responsible for everything, you do it all. But again, being, my father's son, I realized that there's power in numbers, and I've been doing this for years, and making sure that, the people at the table have that voice. Because it could be, "Well, Scott, you don't know what's going to happen next year. Next year, we're expecting a big turnover season, and this is what we're going to need." I didn't know that coming in. So just that shared experience, in building it out, is going to be pivotal. And I welcome the opportunity to work with anybody on it.
Ron, what are your thoughts on the curriculum, sir?
Yeah, I think again, what Scott said is spot on. For me, I can't remember who said it earlier, but even if we put something robust together, we have this training. How do we, that's only one part of it, right? We have to have people that are willing to want to better themselves and pursue these things. So how do we, articulate that to people, that this can be a career, and these are the things that you can achieve. I think that's a big part of it, is promoting this and what comes out of it. Why would you want to do this? Why would you want to take this class? What it means, that sort of thing. For me, as a supervisor, I had my hands in everything. I wanted to be in everything. I was in the budget meetings when the manager would go meet with the regional. I went with her. So I could talk about those things that they didn't know about, the appliances and replacements and those sort of things. And we need more people like that are engaged and taking the initiative as well. So for me, Scott hit on pretty much everything, the expenses and understanding your budget and how to prepare for that, the soft skills, getting into leadership classes and leadership training is a huge part of that. But for me is promoting that career path. It's worth it to take this course because of, and have some example of that. So that's what I got. I have a hard stop. I got to drop in just a second. I got to jump on another call, but thank you for letting me be on, and I'll catch the video later to hear the rest of it. But great stuff, and I appreciate being on the call with all you guys.
Of course. I hope to see you back here in 3 weeks. It's gonna be every 3 weeks from now on going forward. So same day, same hour of the day. Thank you for being with us. Jake, you're up next, sir. What are your thoughts on the curriculum?
Yeah, I think for curriculum wise, I think we kind of talked about it a little bit in our initial phone call we had. And I think what we're seeing right now is people in our industry, you know, the talented people, I would say, are getting picked off to other companies that are plumbers and electricians and stuff like that. You know, places where they're going to go get a certification and designation. That means they're going to be able to go somewhere as a journeyman electrician and make a certain amount of wage no matter where they go. And I think that's definitely something that we have here, and what we would need to wrap in. And I don't think it's going to be the hard skills part of it where you're physically learning how to, like, you know, repair uh, a washer or a dryer. I think this is definitely going to be more towards a management style certification where you're saying you can come on, you know how to read the budget, you're going to make money, because again, we spend all the money that's made, like in the end, like we almost all of the money going out is from us. So on that end of things is, you know, let's train a certification for our guys to go out, and they have to prove the soft skills, and learn the soft skills, and, you know, all of what entails within that, you know. And I think you will have a better certification than at that point, because we have to define ourselves from somewhere else so we can start attracting people back. I want to go to the guys working on the electrical side and say, hey, how come you aren't coming over to us? You know, our industry is better than being an electrician with, you know, just a random mom and pop electrician, you know. So I kind of think that's where I would like to start, you know, start the designation, is how do we make this impactful enough that it's going to mean something when you hold this certification.
Peter, what are your thoughts?
I agree with everything that's been said so far too. I would add to that, kind of in addition to the leadership skills, is basically how to run a meeting and how to get people to jump on board with that. I see a lot of people going from the physical skills to currently I'm working with a group of supervisors and managers, and we're kind of doing just that. They're jumping on meetings and I'm having them kind of learn some of those computer skills so they can do that to themselves, and then they're going to present regionally to service teams. So they need to be more proficient with that before they can, you know, if you look foolish on a computer, then your kind of credibility goes down a little bit more. So that I would say, in addition to the leadership, along with what Jake was saying, I think the monetary compensation that goes along with that certificate is something, maybe with the credibility of the certificate, that you can see the monetary value of it, but demonstrating how your knowledge relates to how much money you're going to save the company, and that you can be paid the same amount as an electrician or a plumber or something like that, which would make it more of a career path than just a job or something that you do.
Great points. Jed?
Similar to you, Adrian, I first in this industry, I applied as a groundskeeper, and I remember I didn't know anything about maintenance at that time, and they had said, well, we'd like to hire you, but we'd like to offer you a maintenance position. And I said, that's great, but I don't know anything about maintenance. And they said, well, we think you have everything else that we're looking for, and we can teach you the maintenance part. That's the easy part. I didn't understand that back then, and I absolutely understand it now and where they were coming from. So I agree, we need to start with the soft skills. I don't think it really, as was mentioned, I don't think it has much to do with, you know, yes, necessarily knowing how to fix this appliance. Those are the things that are always going to change, that you're always going to have to be looking for the new thing to train on. Having the ability to have good customer service, to empathize with our residents, to actually hear what people are saying, not just hear, to listen to truly to what people are saying, whether it's our vendors, our residents, our coworkers, and putting ourselves in their shoes. I don't think this is a one size fits all as far as the training path goes, because I believe in this industry, there are people that actually don't want to be in that leadership role to have other people. Sometimes people do want to show up and say, here's your list of what you are supposed to accomplish today. But that doesn't mean we can't train that person to be the best at knocking out that list in the way that they want to do it. So I think this is great too, to say that let's start with the soft skills and then still have the identification and communication with that particular employee to say, where do you want to go, and start the hard skills, if you will, path based on what they're looking for in that. So I think we're on the right track with the soft skills being where we start, and then branching out from there based on that individual and where they want to go.
Josh, what it look like, the curriculum for you, the ideal curriculum for a certified service manager?
I mean, my curriculum that I'm thinking of is, for me is, a 6 to 12 month training program within your own company and stuff. But when you initially mentioned it, I kind of thought of, CAMT, CAPS, CAMs like that. So I kind of thought of a 5-day course, and what do we want to cover in that course? So I think obviously the customer service aspect, the people skills, we need to teach those and, show them give them examples like that. Professionalism on emails, communication and stuff, because everything is going digital. We just promoted one of my guys from a service manager to area service manager, and so he's now at that higher level. And I had to remind him in his emails, hey, no shortcuts on words. Don't do thank with the letter U. Don't, just make sure you keep your emails professional and stuff. And so I think things like that, budget control, and really, when I went through my CAPS class, what really clicked on me was teaching them like the ROI and how to, figure that in, because at the end of the day, that's how we can get stuff for our properties. That's how our regionals and our vice presidents, that's how I think is on the ROI. So if you have stuff in the maintenance department that you need to get fixed, or that is a prolonged repair that they keep pushing off, what you need to do is show, here's how much it's going to cost to do this repair. Here's what we're going to get from it. Either we're going to save time for on call, we're going to save, water backups, or whatever it is. I had on a property that was built in the 70s, cast iron pipes. We knew we had sewer issues. We got the quote. It was, a $1 million project. And it kind of kept getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. And then finally, during budget meetings, our make ready or our work order expense was about 90 grand. And I told him, I said, 60 of that is specifically from these sewer backups. So my budget for the year was $60,000. I go, so I've spent 60 just on sewer backups. So I'd actually be looking better if we didn't have these sewer backups. And then not to mention the down units, because we couldn't move anybody into them. So I was able to present that money to them, and they're like, okay. Within a month, the project started to take off, and they started working on it because it was the money side of it that they understood. So I think teaching the guys that as well. So teaching them about ROIs, get a little bit into cap rates as well too, as to what makes a property successful. So then that way they get a better visual on how to manage their properties. And then I always equate it to, how do you look at your property? Me as a regional, I'm looking at an elevation of 30,000 feet. So I'm looking at everything that encompasses my portfolio, and I'm trying to forecast stuff 2, 3, 4 months down the road for CapEx projects and stuff. How to teach our service managers to get off of that 100-foot elevation, to where they're just looking day to day or week to week on their property of what happens, but teaching them the importance of looking at stuff and how to look at stuff on a grander scale, how to look at your make readies a month out, 45 days out, and build a schedule, how to, pull your work order analytics to see what are your most work orders that you're doing, so you can get those repaired on a capital project, or, turn times on. So then that way you can see what is the most turned items, what's taking you so long. So really the admin side on pulling those reports, so they can understand their property and really get them at that higher elevation, to where they can see not just the day-to-day or week-to-week stuff. They can see a month, 2 months at least on their property to see what's going on and stuff. So I kind of look at it like a 5-day class, kind of like CAMT, CAPS, CAM stuff, and just touch on that kind of stuff. And I think a lot of guys, if they go to it, it might just be an aha moment. Like when I took my CAPS class, I just had some aha moments. Oh, this makes sense now. I've been doing this way, but by doing it this way now, it makes me more informed, and it just kind of gets me on that next level. So.
Gentlemen, we have about 5 minutes left before the top of the hour. I know some of you, if not all of you, might have other commitments. I don't want to go over the time that we had a schedule for this meeting. So I like to go around the virtual room and kind of get your thoughts on what are some things that you're passionate about, that you would like to see brought up to the group on the next meeting, or on one of the next meetings, right? Because obviously, 1 or 2 topics per hour is gonna be like more than enough to cover the 60 minutes. And the more of us show up, less time we're gonna have for each, so on and so forth. So Scott, I'm gonna start with you. What are some things that you like to see happening in the next meetings?
Sure, Adrian. You know, I spend a lot of time with my clients, focusing on putting together enhanced behavioral safety development programs. Because with insurances skyrocketing right now, and it's across the industry. It doesn't matter whether you're in the multifamily affordable or in the market rate or commercial. You know, the numbers just keep escalating, and a lot of that's due to the reinsurers, you know, overseas, the Lloyd's of London, the Swiss Re, passing everything back down to the carriers in this country. And underwriting wants to see that people actually have viable safety programs in place. You know, are you being deliberate with your programming? Are you making sure your people are safe by design, not lucky by chance? So that's one of them. And the other one for me is with all the technology that's evolved and all of the, you know, back in the days when we all ripped apart boilers, you know, now you need a degree from MIT to work on a boiler. You need to, everything's a control board and things like that. So I think if we focus on the green initiatives for the next, you know, 20 years, that's going to pay extremely high dividends to the owners and stakeholders.
Jake, what are your thoughts, your ideas for next meetings, topics to discuss?
Yeah, I'm gonna say I'm probably pretty passionate, and what really turned me onto this was just about what we're talking about now, about developing this. I kind of would like to kind of stay on this topic, to be honest. So,
How about you, Peter?
I would say just taking in all this information right now is what I'm pretty happy with. Elevators are a current issue with us as far as like not being taken advantage of by elevator companies. I feel like they're kind of dirty, at least the ones that we work with. So I think maybe if anybody had a better source for that or some consultation company, we would currently work with VDA, but if anybody else has better luck with any consultation companies, I'd be happy to hear about that.
Cool. Jed?
Scott took the first part of mine, but I believe, yeah, safety trainings is a huge thing right now. As we're developing, there's always going to be new trainings for maintenance, but I think the safety trainings don't correlate directly with the maintenance trainings, and they should for our programs overall. You almost used our exact motto, Scott, for Allied. We have it's safety by choice, not by chance, is our motto for our safety training. So, but I think it's something that gets overlooked quite a bit, and especially right now with all of the new people coming into this industry, we need to be aware that they need to be taught from the bottom up as well. And then that safety is just as important, if not more important, than their maintenance skills, because we want them all to go home just the way they came to work at night. I'd also love to see some more talk about technology, computers, where that is going, AI, and where we think that we can start to establish something. It's not going away. So I'd love to get a platform that we can start to grow off of on that before steps 4, 5, and 6 get taken before steps 1, 2, and 3. You know what I mean? With that. So,
Josh?
I would say involvement and education in your local association. I think that's where we need to start as well too. If we want to start changing the stigmatism of maintenance team members, getting more maintenance, you know, regional leaders for maintenance on education committees, on whatever you can for your local association. Because, you know, I joined my education committee last year, and we've been able to roll out, you know, maintenance toolbox classes for our technicians now every quarter, and just different events. So I think really having that maintenance voice at your local association is going to be important going forward, and just trying to carve out time to spend that hour, 2 hours a month being involved in that to help spread the word for maintenance and get maintenance more involved in that kind of stuff.
I had several requests from vendors, from service providers reaching out, saying, can we be part of those meetings? Not necessary to try to sell anything, just to witness, just as a witness, because it's important to us to know. And I said, well, for the most part, we record and it's on YouTube, like it's public, right? But then I think it's, you know, different if they're just here in a room. So by thumbs up or thumbs down, what would you suggest we do? Should we allow them to be here as observers on the next meetings, or should we not?
I think it depends on the topic that we're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Just something, I wanted to pick your brains on. And the last thing before we wrap up for the day, I'm looking for volunteers to lead the next meetings, right? As I said, I'm just a facilitator here. Like, this is not Adrian's meeting. It's all of ours meeting, right? And I like for some of you to, to volunteer if you could and just lead the meetings. I'll still do like the behind the scenes, do the updates, do the invites, do everything. But again, like, this is not for my personal glory. There's so much brain power in, this virtual room and in all the previous meetings that we had. I like to, highlight other individuals, and I like to give them the opportunity to lead, the next meeting. So please reach out to me, personally, in person, as early as next meeting, 3 weeks from now. I'd love to have one of you leading the next meeting. And then, as on a first come first serve basis, then, I'll make a schedule. Like I said, I don't, this is not about Adrian. Like, it's about the industry. It's about what we could do collectively achieve. And there's just so much wisdom here in this room and in this meeting. So I want to thank you all for being here today. It's important that we keep them going. I'm going to go ahead and create shortly, probably today before the end of the day, a reoccurring meeting that recurs every 3 weeks. So you have it ahead of time on your schedule. And if you could block it, hopefully it'll make it easier for you to show up to the next meetings. Thank you. Have an
Thank you
amazing
so much,
rest of the
Adrian.
day. Take care.
Thank you.